want this event to be as impactful and valuable as it can be. So make sure that after the event, you're going over all the points that both Reyna and Avanti discussed. So we're going to get started with the event now, and we have two very, very special women on with us. One is Reyna Shaw. Where's Reyna? Reyna, can you wave and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Reyna here.
Reyna is the founder of Raise Together, which is a social impact company, and she's on the mission to uplift families in South Asian countries. Reyna is a purebred hustler. Like, this girl hustles. She is balancing working as a consultant. She's balancing an entrepreneurship MBA program at the Keenan Flagler Business School at UNC, and carving her own path through social impact to really change and grow the community around her. I am so happy that she's on here today to really inspire and motivate your daughters to the next level. So with a big round of applause, everybody please welcome Raina Shaw.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sunny. I'm so excited to be here, and just like Sunny said, juggling a lot of different things in my life right now, and definitely very untraditional because I went to school, I worked for some time. I also was traveling during my time when I was working, and I went to India. I was working with really young kids, just the same age as you, for about 4 years. Young girls and young boys that actually didn't have parents. So it was a very different type of experience. I came back, and then I decided that it's something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I started to go back to school, and I'll share more later, but a lot of untraditional path successes that I've embarked upon, but really exciting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Reyna. The second speaker that we're going to be having on with us today is Avanti Negral. She is also a purebred hustler and an excellent role model for your daughters. She pursued a dual degree with the Berklee College of Music and Harvard University with degrees in both psychology and global health and policy. As if balancing that wasn't enough, she also bounced back and forth from Bombay to Boston with the mission of creating music that challenges societal norms. She's here today to share with you her story and her mission to inspire change in the world. So thank you so much, Avanti, for joining us as well. We're all really excited to hear your story and also get a lot of questions answered that these kids and parents have for you.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for having me. And hi, everyone. Firstly, I just want to say all of you look so great, especially for a Saturday morning. I know that it's early and it's a weekend, but thank you for making it for this event, which Mr. Sunny has put together. And I also know Reyna personally, and she's awesome, so I think it'll be a really fun time. As Sunny just mentioned, I just graduated from college in May, and in addition to, the stuff that I did in college and school, I'm also a professional singer, and I can talk to you a little bit about what that's like and, what it's like balancing music as well as, something you're passionate about, as well as, your studies and work and everything else. So super happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Avanti. So the very first thing that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be asking some questions to both of Reyna and Avanti. And then after we ask these questions to both ladies, we will be diving deeper into both of them and getting to know them deeper. So the very first question that I have for Reyna is, and you guys can find this in your PDF in that workbook that I sent you. It's the very first page. I'll share my screen so that way you can see it, and then we'll bounce back to me. So right here. So in your workbook, it's the very first page. So both of these questions will be asked to both Reyna and Avanti. And while they're talking, make sure that you guys are writing down key things that they're saying. You don't need to write down everything. Make sure you're listening, but just write down things that stand out to you, things that like you might be able to put into your own life and into your own practice as well, which is really important to be able to do. So Reyna and Avanti, we'll start off with Reyna. The very first question is, how have you cultivated interest and passion in your craft? And how do you stay motivated with the purpose that you have? Like, how do you stay motivated with your mission? Like, you do a lot. So how are you staying motivated?
So motivation is definitely something that's really tricky, right? It's hard to always stay motivated, but at the end of the day, it's really important to just know your end goal and what you really want to achieve, right? So what exactly do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And how do you plan to get there, right? So something that's really helped me was that ever since I knew I wanted to change careers, I decided to leave working in the pharmaceutical industry and working on the marketing side. I decided that, hey, I want to do something different. And it's I wanted to work with underprivileged communities, and I wanted to work with young girls and families that were struggling to really, make a living for themselves and grow. And we have so many opportunities here. So that I knew that if that's something I wanted to work on and help change, then I decided to create a plan. And every day I knew that if I wanted to reach my end goal, I had to stick to the plan. And I kept reminding myself, because exactly like Mr. Sunny said, that motivation is just, it's a very excitement feeling. And then after that, it's more about, okay, well, I have so many things I'm juggling. I'm going to school, and sometimes I'm so tired. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, am I crazy? Like, I ask myself these questions, like, am I crazy? Like, why am I trying to do all of this at once? And then I take a step back and I'm like, no, there's a goal, there's a plan. And that's what's really kept me motivated, because sometimes when I really feel overwhelmed and I'm like, maybe I'm doing too much, or maybe I'm trying to do something that's so big, but it's the baby steps, and I take baby steps. So I make sure that, at least I pick like 3 big things I need to get done for the day, and I keep myself motivated to just get those 3 things done. And then I get those done and I'm accomplished for the day, because then the next day I'm going to pick something else up that's going to get me towards my plan and my end goal. So oftentimes it's, it's hard to stay motivated, but just remember your end goal, and doing a little bit every single day helps.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's really important to remember. What I really liked about you said is that you pick 3 things that you want to get done for the day. And then you do those 3 things, and then you feel good about yourself. And you give your time to feel good about yourself, because that's like re-motivating to feel good about yourself. A lot of times we're just like, go, 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 go. But the real secret to it is we plan it out, we do those 3 things for the day, we feel accomplished, we feel good about ourselves, and then we can rest, feel re-motivated, and then continue. Thank you so much for sharing that, Reyna. Avanti, how have you cultivated interest and passion in your craft, and how do you stay motivated with your purpose? I mean, you were balancing between going to the Berklee College of Music, Harvard University, you had different degrees in both, and on top of that, you were flying back and forth between Boston and Bombay and singing. And how are you able, like that's truly a lot to be able to do. How are you staying passionate and motivated with your purpose?
I mean, I think those are both really great questions, Mr. Sunny, and I really liked Reina's answer as well of, kind of picking a few things and focusing on them. So the way, and I like your framing, the way I like to think about things that I love to do is by thinking of them in terms of both passion and purpose. So for me, passion means one thing that if I could wake up tomorrow and I didn't have anything else to do, I didn't have any homework, I didn't have, any chores to do, I didn't have anything else to do, what is it that I would spend my time doing? And for me, the answer to that is definitely music, but also performing, creating videos, things of that nature, which I really enjoy doing because I love hanging out with people and being able to talk with people and talk about things that matter. So to me, that was always the focus, whether it is by sharing a song or sharing a story or having a really important conversation. To me, those three things are important aspects of my passion. And the way I think about purpose is, what difference do I want to make in the world? And when you think of making a difference in this world, it can feel really challenging, especially if you're young, because you might think, oh, there's so much going on in the world, or what can I do because I'm a very young person? But there's this one quote which I really love, and it's basically, don't let anybody tell you that you're too young to do something, because a baby shark is still a shark. And I remember when I was your age, a lot of people would tell me, "Oh, you're really little. What you're saying may or may not matter." But I think everybody has a voice and everybody has something to say, and everybody can make a difference, whether it's in your own homes, in your own communities, or with people around you. So to me, those are really my guiding principles. And the third part of your question, Mr. Sunny, was about craft, right? And I think no matter what it is, we're always working on our craft. How many of you here, just if you can raise your hands, do anything in the creative space? Like, are you into music or dance or art or anything? That's awesome. There's a lot of you. Even if you're not, every single person is working on their craft. If you're studying, you're working on the craft of learning, right? If you are doing anything creative, you're working on the craft. So for me, when I practice music, I am working on the craft. And there's a word in Hindi and Urdu called riyaz, which means actual practice. So it takes a lot of dedication and taking time out, the same way in which you study for an exam. It's important to make some time for your craft. If you like playing the piano, take maybe 20 minutes of the day, half an hour of the day, and just do it, because the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So to me, it's just about finding balance with all those things.
Definitely great. I really, really like that answer because you answered all parts of that question. And also, you really talked about enjoying what you do. And I think that's so important. A lot of times we get forced into areas where we might not necessarily enjoy what we do, and that really puts a strain on us.
From here, don't leave it.
Let me make sure everybody's on mute. We enjoy what we do, and I think that's something that's really, really important to do, is to enjoy what we do, so that way we continuously feel motivated throughout the process. The next question is for Reyna. How do you manage your emotions during stressful times? What are you doing, and like balancing everything that you do? We all have a lot of feelings like giving up. We have feelings like we're not good enough, or we just don't want to try anymore. Like, how are you able to manage those emotions throughout your entire process of what you're doing?
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Ms. Chetty. So managing emotions is definitely it's a very skilled, a skilled thing that someone can do. I definitely am still on this journey of learning how to manage my emotions, because I think as you're growing up, right, like being able to learn how to deal with the way you are feeling is something really different, right? Like you're always, and as you're, it's very, it's based on different situations that you're experiencing in your life, right? So right now you're in school and you may be doing really well, so you get really excited, but when you do really bad, you get really, really hurt and really upset. And it's tough, because when you're in those specific situations, you may get down on yourself, and you may feel that, hey, am I really good at this, or maybe I just don't know how to do it and I can't do it. And at those times, and I know this happened so recently to me, was that I was feeling really down on myself, and it was because I was feeling really stressed out and I was feeling really overwhelmed because of school. And what I did was I took a step back and I was like, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I've given all the work I could in my 100%. There may be things I could have done better, but in this one moment, I've done my best. And sometimes that positive conversations having with myself helps me feel better. It actually helps me overcome the stress and the anxiety and the emotions that I'm dealing with. Because sometimes, just like you guys, I just want to cry. And I do. I cry. I get it out of my system. I'm like, okay, I'm done crying now. Okay, now what do we have to do? And sometimes that's okay. It's okay to just cry, get out of your system. Don't let the tantrum go on for too long. Just get it out of your system and then keep going on with what you got to do. Because at the end of the day, you still have to do what you have to do, right? You can't just cry, but it's okay to cry. But it's okay. Let the feelings out and then move on with your day. And that's something that I've learned. It's okay to feel feelings, but just make sure you're good. You're nice to yourself. You have to be really nice to you and be positive.
Yeah, definitely. That was fantastic, Reyna. Thank you for sharing that. We need to make sure that it's okay. Like we're all human beings, and sometimes we forget that, and we have emotions, and it's okay to feel those emotions. We cry, we let it out, and we keep moving forward. Thanks for sharing that. Avanti, same question. How do you manage your emotions during stressful times?
So I think building off from what Reina said, it is okay to feel different feelings, right? Sometimes we feel sad, we feel happy, we feel jealous. We have all of these feelings inside of us, and there's no point in pushing it away, because if you push your feelings away, then they'll come back to haunt you later on. So I think it's okay to understand what you're feeling and to recognize it. For example, earlier today I was a little bit annoyed with my brother, and I needed to step back and recognize that I was feeling annoyed and I was frustrated and understand why that was happening and what I could do in that situation to remove the annoyance. But sometimes you feel annoyed and frustrated with yourself, and that's the hard place because I can imagine a lot of you are probably feeling a little bit stressed right now with online school, because I know it's not easy to be at home and not be able to see your friends and not be able to go to school. And I know it's probably crazy, and I'm sending all of you, positive vibes, and I hope it gets better soon. But I think having one or two practices that really help you when you're feeling down is important. So for me, one of those practices is having a strong support system. So I talk to my parents when I'm feeling a little bit low because they cheer me up. I talk to my brother. I talk to some of my friends because I think it's important to have people you can share your feelings with. And I also figure out things that make me feel good. So sometimes I feel good when I exercise a little bit, or when I sing, for sure, or sometimes I just really need to take a nice shower and make sure that I'm focusing on myself. So those are some of the things that I do, and I think it's important to figure out when you're feeling stressed or emotional, what is it that makes you feel better. Sometimes it's eating something. Whatever it is, finding that for yourself will help you through your life.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. Those comfort items definitely do help us and definitely do help us grow. And I'm really happy that you have those. So for all you kids, do the same thing. You got to feel good about yourself. So the next question is for Reyna, and a really important question, because I want all of you kids to really listen in on this. A lot of you are all under the age of, well, in 8th grade or lower. And I think this is a really, really important question, because as you get older, it's important to have this connection. So parents, if you're there, listen in. Kids, if you're there, make sure you're really listening in on this one, because it's a really important one. Reyna, why are you so open with your parents?
That's a good question. So why am I so open with my parents? I think it's because my parents allowed me to be. And it was really just that growing up, like I was always open as a child. I never felt that I couldn't be open. And I think that's because my parents always gave me this space where I could freely express myself, whether it was something they agreed with or didn't agree with, but it was always just an open environment where like I wasn't scolded for things that I felt or wanted to do, or maybe if like I wanted to do something at a young age that like, you know, maybe they didn't like, we would have these open discussions, right? So like communication was really, really, really important. And they always told me like, you know, I'm sure parents always say like, don't hide anything from us. Just tell us the truth. We won't get mad at you. And oftentimes, sometimes parents end up getting mad at me. They're like, wait, but you just told me you weren't gonna get mad at me. And what ended up happening in our family was that they didn't really get mad. It was like a discussion. And it wasn't that like I was grounded and I had to go to my room and they took everything away from me. And it was like, it was just that I was able to be myself, feel the way I wanted to feel. And it was accepted and it was okay. And obviously if it was wrong, it was wrong. But if there was an opportunity for us to communicate about it, that was always something that allowed me to feel like, hey, I could trust you. I could come back to you and tell you what I'm feeling because you'll understand me. There was like there was like two key things, right? It was just my parents were always understanding. They were always open to communicate and like help me out with everything. But it wasn't more about their perception of like what is right or wrong. It was more about understanding me as a child or whatever age I was at, what I was going through, right? Like, and I think that's like, that was what allowed me to be so open to date. Like, you know, and it's just something that, I don't know, I just feel like something that really changed who I am as a person.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important both for parents and kids to feel open with each other and create that safe space for each other. Avanti, why are you so open with your parents?
I love this question. I think that all relationships in life are a two-way street. They have to function from both people and both places. And I think that especially the relationship with your parents, when all of you were really little, I'm sure that your parents took care of you, right? And they probably still do. But when you were really little, they changed your diapers and did a bunch of things to quite literally take care of you. And some of you may have parents who have older parents. Some of your grandparents might be older, and you might see your parents taking care of your grandparents now. But in that middle stage, you know, when you're kind of old enough as a kid, when you're whatever, age 7, 8, and then to 50 something, you are developing a relationship with your parents, which is beyond just taking care of each other. It's a relationship where you can hopefully talk to each other, and it's a relationship where you can be open, like clearly Reyna had that at home. So I think, you know, from a parent's point of view, things are changing every single day, and this generation grew up very differently than even Reina and I did, right? We didn't have access to the internet in the same way. Everyone's doing school online. So I think understanding that it's a new world and knowing how to navigate that new world is really important from that, and what I've respected my parents for doing and being open about it. I also have a lot of conversations with my grandparents, and I find that they're really cool and open too, just to try to understand us. And from the kids' perspective, I remember when I was younger, and even now, sometimes I feel annoyed with my parents, and that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, I love them and I try my best to share things with them. I remember distinctly when I was about 8 or 9, I got really badly bullied in school. And at first, I tried to keep it to myself. But when I told my parents, I realized that they're actually there to help me. They weren't going to scold me, they weren't even going to try to do anything. They first wanted to understand me and then help me solve the problem. So, you know, having a parent or someone who's older than you to help solve problems and learn from their experiences is really cool. So I think the more open we are with each other and we can talk about anything from our feelings to things we're curious about to things that have happened to us, the healthier it'll be for everyone.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Avanti. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be going more in detail with each speaker. So first we're going to start off with Reina. So a lot of you parents filled out a survey before this seminar with a couple of questions. What we're going to do is now we're going to dive deeper into both Reina and Avanti, get to know them a little bit better. So this will be on the second page, and it's the second page of your packet. So make sure you guys are taking notes on what you guys really like and what you guys really like about both Reyna and Avanti. Because what this is going to help you do is that later on in your life, when you encounter challenges or issues or problems, and you're just like, oh, I just want to give up. Look, we all get there. I'm there sometimes. Reyna's there. Avanti's there sometimes. But this is going to be your power source. This is what you're going to look back at. You're going to remember this moment, and you're going to say to yourself that if Miss Reyna could do it, or if Miss Avanti can do it, so can I. So please, this next portion is super important for you guys to pay attention and really be here for. So, Reyna, what is your message for parents of daughters in our community where they're not given empowerment? And this is something across all of our communities that we all see, that a lot of times girls aren't given the same opportunities or freedoms. And we want to make sure that they are, especially for this generation, because this generation is going to go on, all of you kids are going to go on to really shaping and changing and growing the world. So what's your message to parents right now?
Well, thank you, Mr. Shelley. That's actually, so two things is that I have a message for parents and I have a message for the kids. And one is something that Avanti shared earlier, because it's exactly the quote I have on my post-it. It's don't, for the kids and for all young girls, it's don't ever let anyone ever tell you you cannot do something. You cannot do something and you are too young. It's just something that I really want you guys to understand, because yes, maybe getting up and traveling across the world by yourself, all right, guys, you can't do that. You're too young for that right now. But if it's something like, hey, I want to participate in a fundraiser, or I want to raise money for this nonprofit. And hey, mom, can I just sell some, can I carve pumpkins for people on our block for $5 and donate the money? Hey, yeah, you can. You can do that. You can help in so many different ways. When it's, even if it's just helping a neighbor or even helping someone in your just in your community by volunteering, there's so many things you can do to grow your society and to help each other. And when someone tells me like, you're too young to do this or you can't do this, just say that, maybe I'm too young right now to do the big things and to do what adults are doing, but I'm old enough to do what others my age can do. And you may have to help me a little bit because I can't go shopping and I may need some money, but otherwise be responsible for everything that you want to do and make sure that you can do it, because you have to also take the onus and you have to take the responsibility on yourself to do things you want to do, but don't ever put that block in your head that, oh, I'm too young to do this or I can't do this. Take the word can't out of your dictionary, first of all. That's like a no-no. So that's one. And to parents, I think the one thing is just, one thing is that always really don't limit your kids and don't limit the girls. Coming from a family where my dad has always seen me as another boy in the family, and Sunny can vet for that. Like my father has always told me, be a strong, independent woman, that you're never relying on anyone in your entire life except yourself. And that was sort of the mindset I was raised with, because he wanted me to be equal. He never, ever, my mom too, always wanted me to be an equal individual to a male counterpart. And that was because, living in a world where when you are raised in a culture and in a world where women are always casted a shadow upon or never really given the equal opportunities, we want to raise our daughters and our girls to know that they are capable of achieving anything they want in their life. I am married, I am working, I am going to school, I am taking care of my family. I'm doing all of it at a very young age. And that's because I've always put my career first and along with my family, but those two have always been they've been like parallel in my life. And I've been giving that opportunity. And I really, really request parents that never limit your daughters or your girls because of what cultural norms or society norms are or were. Like Avanti said, things are really different now, and it's something that, I've seen, and I really, really hope that all parents will really encourage their girls to do anything and everything they can in the world to make a difference and be a strong leader.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Raina. I think all of those things are really, really important. So let's go a little bit deeper into what was, we talked about that all the kids can start now, right? We can start by, like carving pumpkins and then like selling them and donating money, or we can there was like that Alex's lemonade stand thing that happened a couple of years ago, which is a pretty big foundation, and it was started from a very young age. And there's things that all of you girls can be doing at home and just starting now, or just starting with a little bit, right? So what really inspired you to choose this path of what you're doing now? Like, what was that key moment? Was it when you were a kid? Did it build up? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was two things. So it started when I was young, and it was because I just went to India every year, and my grandparents lived there, and there were a lot of young girls that worked in our at our home, in our family. So my grandparents had a family that lived at our house and worked to cook and clean and do all of the just help around the house with the chores. And the young girls were the same age as me growing up. So every year I went to India. I stayed for like three months, like basically the whole summer. And then by the time I turned 15, they were probably either 16 or 15, the same age as me. They were all married. And I didn't understand that. I was 15 years old, and I would come back. I still remember we would play outside together on our outskirts of our porch. We would put Mindy on. We would play games. We'd watch movies because they were young and we had a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, I went back one year and they were like, "Oh yeah, so they got married." And I was like, "That." But I haven't even gotten to high school yet. How are they married? I didn't understand that. And, and it was something that my mom had to sit down and talk to me about because I couldn't let go of it. I was like, "But why are they married?" I didn't even know what that meant. I was 15 years old. What? You're married? And then one of the other girls, and I was like, "They didn't go to college yet. They haven't, we're still young." And something like that, my mom told me, was just something was so cultural in at that time. And it's not something that, is looked upon that happens here in America. So it was so different for me. And when I found out that that's what happened in rural communities, in very poor communities, that girls were getting married at a really young age because they were looked at a burden, or, the family had to give them away because they couldn't take care of them anymore, or that it was just a common thing because the girls were uneducated. And that's what really stuck with me. And then it just grew on it. And every year I came back, then she was having kids when I was 18. And I was it was just something that built on and on and on for years. And I couldn't let go of it. It just was at a point where when I got older and I knew, and I started to really understand what that meant, because I was the same age as her and I couldn't ever imagine living the same life as her. I knew that there was something that I wanted to do to change that. And it was really, again, just something that started at a young age. And I knew that if I had it within me with the resources and the passion and the purpose, like Avanti said, it's something that I knew that I really did want to change, and I couldn't just let go of it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great, great, great story, because it just goes to show that we all and all of us kids, like we all live in our world and we have different things that are going on. And in the world that we're currently in, like think about where you are, whether you're at home or what your life is like, and just find a problem, like find an issue that's going on that you want to work towards to fixing. Like you're not going to fix it now, but you can start with a couple ideas now, and then later on you'll move forward in that direction. And as you get older, if you continue with this purpose and this passion, you can make a bigger change later, just like Reyna. So, Reyna, you worked as the Health and Wellness Director at Uplift Humanity India, which was a fairly large nonprofit in India. And this was a really big initiative that you started. How did you even know where to start? Because I feel like these problems, just like you said, like go culturally rooted in the systems in India and all of that. Like that is such a massive issue. So like, how did you know where to even begin?
Yeah, so there was two things. I always like, so after, as I mentioned, growing up, this was something that always stuck with me. So I always used to read books by different leaders that were working with underprivileged girls and just young children and families that were in rural parts of India and Bangladesh and different countries. They even worked in like Africa. And I didn't know at that point like what I wanted to do, but I knew that I was graduating college and I just knew that I still wasn't doing something that was, related to helping the younger girls and boys and families that were poor in India. And when I read a book by Muhammad, there's an author in a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Muhammad Yunus. I remember in that book, he said, just if you can even pick one issue. I mean, obviously, when you're in underserved community or you're in poverty, you're dealing with a lot of different issues, right? But he was like, just pick one issue and pick one small community that you think you can change and make a difference in, and just start there, right? And it goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, right? It's like, once you get yourself to do just one thing and you work in one community, you will slowly, and you're successful there, you do a really good job, and you're like, okay, I think I'm doing good here. Now maybe I can take this and do it somewhere else. And I can go to the next community, and I can go to the third community, right? Like, and it was just the concept of starting. So when I knew that, well, I work full time, maybe I can't start my own nonprofit. Maybe that's a lot of work. But I have a friend who has a nonprofit, and he only teaches English right now. But what if I brought a team of people together and we could teach, oral hygiene, general hygiene, nutrition, and we could educate them on like menstruation and female hygiene and mental health, right? Because we were dealing with orphan children, and these are children that didn't have parents. They lived in a large orphanage home, and that was one, or they were just really, really poor and they went to public school. So we were working in different areas in different schools, and I just started there. And we went one time. I understand like what were all the challenges they had. How are we going to help them with nutrition? How are we going to help them with hygiene and mental health? And we tried to create really specific programs that were helping them overcome these specific challenges that they were having as young kids. And they had gone through a lot of traumatic experiences in their life, right? So it was something that we really, really wanted to help with, and just started. We just got started, and unfortunately, the organization is no longer working in India. Right around the pandemic, they decided to close down. But for the 4 years I was working there, it was it was just, always making sure that we were doing whatever we could within one community. So if it was 60 students, we just work with the 60 and try to make their life better. Because we knew that if we did something right here, we can do it somewhere else again. And
Yeah.
that was just how we got started.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that answer. So the last question for you, Reina, is what are you currently doing and why are you set on this mission now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. What am I doing currently? I'm doing a lot of things currently, right?
Like you're with your I know that you have you're pursuing your MBA program, you're a consultant and also you've just started your social impact company. So just in like a few quick words, like what are you currently doing with your social impact company and like why?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I started a social impact company because I knew that just like you guys, that maybe because I'm in the US right now and I can't travel. I can't go to India right now. COVID is everywhere in India. And so earlier this year, I decided that why don't I start, instead of traveling, why don't I start getting together and building a community of just individuals and companies and different leaders that are in the social impact space, which is just providing relief and providing, resources or skills or, giving work, just, giving them jobs to underprivileged communities, right? To like the poor communities in different countries of South Asia. And we're building community so that we're all like-minded, we all care about the same thing, and we can work together to share our knowledge, share our experiences, and really create ways so that we can help those that are already in India to help them out of poverty, right? And again, right, I just doing it by starting a community right now and then creating different ways so that we can help these individuals and help the organizations that are already in India or in Bangladesh or Pakistan, anywhere in South Asia, making a difference and basically changing these children's worlds, right? And changing these parents and these families' like life around. And if I'm in the US, I would want to do whatever I could to do that. So, and like me, there's others. So we're just building a community around us and using our platform, our voice to make a difference.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that, Raina. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick brain break for the next 3 minutes. Okay, so if you need to go to the bathroom, you need to get water, you want to get up and stretch, whatever you want to do, that way when we come back, we can have Avanti and we can speak with her. All right, so if you guys want to take a quick brain break, go ahead, go to the bathroom, and we'll be right back. So make sure that you guys are back by 10:55. Okay, so you got 4 minutes. So go ahead. The parents have asked and some of the kids have asked too. So we'll go through these questions together. And all of you kids, just make sure that you're taking notes and also listening to what Avanti has to say for all of you. Okay, so we're going to get to know Avanti a little bit better. So Avanti, what has your musical journey taught you?
It's hard to say just one thing, but I can give all of you a little bit of background about my musical journey just to start with super briefly. So I was born in the US and I lived there till I was about 9, and then I moved to India where I did middle and high school, and then I went back to the US for college. So I've always lived between the two countries. And I started out initially, my dad plays the tabla, which is, one of the Indian drums, and he used to sometimes teach it on the side to help make some extra money in his early days when he was in college. So he continued that through his life. And by profession, he's in the technology world, but seeing a role model like that in my own home of somebody who could do something professionally but was also really passionate about something was really awesome. So because of that, I was exposed to music very early on, and I started doing a lot of bhajans and devotional music when I was really little. And then when I moved to India, I started training in Indian classical music, I don't know if any of you are learning Indian classical music. If you are actually, or if you've heard of it, can you put your hand up? That would be awesome. I don't know if anyone is,
Yeah,
but if you're learning music of any kind, that would be cool. So anyway, I started doing that, and then any opportunity I got in school to sing, I made sure I did. So I was always singing in competitions and talent shows, things like that. I also went to a Christian high school, so there was a lot of church music and things like that happening. So I was a part of the choir, did a bunch of that, and then I got the opportunity to also do some professional theater, so a little bit of Broadway style singing. So my musical journey was very eclectic, and I think what it taught me is, by eclectic I mean diverse, there's all these backgrounds. Well, I think what it taught me is that music is really cool because it's a universal language and anybody can experience it and take joy from it, and you can reach out to somebody's heart and soul through it because it's a really cool way to communicate with people, and that there's so much beauty in diversity. You know, all of these different cultural backgrounds of music that I've learned through my life are all so different, but they all have that common aspect of trying to spread joy or trying to, make you feel your emotions in different ways. So to me, it was a really early lesson in being able to celebrate diversity. And the other thing I think is it teaches you discipline, because when you're doing something like that for many, many years of your life, I was practicing almost every single day. And, now I've done it to the point that I'm doing it professionally. For me, it was really important that I also got a college degree and made sure that I was focusing on my education along with that so that I could do both at the same time and always have a college degree. But whatever your choice is, I think anything that you're doing that is outside of just your studying in school, it's important to give it time, and it's important to have the discipline to practice. So I would say it taught me the beauty of culture, and especially, South Asian Indian culture, in particular, as well as discipline and learning how to focus on something for a long period of time.
Yeah, focus is something that we all need help with, and we all work to really improve. I know that a lot of times, like one of the biggest issues or one of the biggest challenges with kids is like making sure that we're staying focused. So I'm happy that you have picked um, a career path that has helped you build that and focus over a long period of time. Going into our next question is, how has music helped you with your skills with other people? And especially, and I think this question really hits home for all of us, is I feel like a lot of times we're really shy and we feel uncomfortable and we don't want to talk to new people, and we don't want to meet new people because we don't feel positive about ourselves. So, how has music helped you with building those interpersonal and people skills?
I think that's a great question. So I think with music, it's really cool because, like you said, it's one of those things that helps you build not just focus, but for me, it helped me build my confidence. I'm someone who I really enjoy being on stage, whether that's singing or speaking or whatever that might be. And I think music really helped me build confidence for myself. But I think once you start to build confidence in yourself and you respect yourself, you can start doing that with other people too. And for me, that was a really important tool and skill. I don't know if any of you, how many of you have watched a concert either online or in person? If you want to raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So, and most of the concerts you've probably seen, it's not just the singer, but there's often other people. There's people playing different instruments, or there's people standing around, and they're either called a band, you might have heard of a band. And I think when you do something like that, where you're learning how to coordinate with other people, work with them, you're all working together to create something, it is a really cool learning experience because it teaches you how to manage other people's emotions, work with different people, and still be able to work constructively on a project. I was able to actually, some of the learnings that I have from music, bring that into my studying and learning. And, whenever I would work on a group project or something like that, I think taking the principles that I learned in music was always really cool because it was, when you're creating something together, you're always trying to figure out how to best collaborate with everyone around. So I think it really helped me with that. Um, And the last thing is it's also a really cool way to communicate. So the more you learn about yourself and the way you like to communicate, the better you are communicating with other people. So that would be my learning.
Yeah. Did you ever feel nervous? Like, do you feel nervous like when you sing in front of other people or when you do these, oh no, I mean not live performances anymore, but like any performances at all? Like, do you get that like nervous feeling or like has it gone away? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think definitely when I first started, I got a little bit nervous. My first public performance on a stage was when I was 5 years old. Um, and I've been performing ever since then. And I think that some things like this get better with time and with practice, right? So the more you practice being on stage or talking to people, you can perform for your families, you can perform for your friends, or if you want to get better at communicating while talking, you can do it on a Zoom seminar like this or any other opportunity. A lot of it is just practice. It's also okay to feel nervous and it's okay to feel anxious. There's nothing wrong with that, but trying to figure out what it is that makes you tick. And for me, the thing that helped me overcome it was just the the passion that I had for it. Every time I step on stage or every time I see people, I feel so blessed to be able to do it and I feel that energy. And so to me, that's when things go away, you know? And I would say the third thing is also whenever you're performing or you're on stage in any form, right? You're talking, you're performing, whatever. It's important to be prepared because the more prepared you are, the less you'll be worried about other external factors. You know, if I know what I'm going to say really well, if I know what I'm going to sing really well, I will be less worried about am I moving in the right way? Am I interacting with the audience? You know, I will focus really on just the performance because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Wow. So I think that's something that's really important to remember is that like that nervous feeling that we all feel whenever we do something in front of other people or we're doing for the first time is okay. But the more that we practice these things and the more that we do these things, the better we become at it and the less that we feel those feelings of anxiety and nervousness and insecurity and the more we start feeling confident, like you said. So I'm really happy that you've grown in that way and I hope this is an excellent example for all of you girls as well, that like you guys, it's okay to feel nervous, but the more that we practice, the more confident that we feel. Now, on to this next question. It is a little bit deeper and something that I think a lot of people struggle with, especially our girls and also our families that are online with us today. So, as a woman, what challenges are you faced with when you took up music as a professional career when it's a very male dominated world? And how did you overcome these challenges?
Also, a great question. I think that it's I would love for a world in which we didn't have to think about the way in which our gender affected what we're doing, but we still do, and there's a long way to go. I think as a girl, there's a few things you have to keep in mind, right? Don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not good enough just because you're a girl or that only a boy can do something. You are awesome. You can do pretty much everything a boy can do and more. And you need to feel confident in that about yourself.
Yeah.
I think in a space like this, right, I do a lot of music stuff or I do a lot of things in business or, being on stage generally, and a lot of it is dominated by men, as Mr. Sunny said. And a lot of it, I think, just comes from the fact that boys at a younger age are encouraged to be more confident and more outspoken and more assertive. And so I think it starts at home, firstly, where you encourage young girls to share their opinions, share what's on their mind, and be confident. And the second thing is if you're in school and there's a lot more boys than girls, or if you're in a job where there's a lot more boys than girls, knowing and figuring out how to make friends with people and really building a team is really, really important. And the third thing I would say is finding people around you, no matter what you're doing, with whom you feel safe, especially as a girl, because I think it's important to make sure that you feel like that in this industry, in the music industry. Sometimes you can feel unsafe. So to me, it was really important that when I was younger, before I turned 18, my mom would come with me to different places. Now I have a professional team where, we will go to different places if we need to. And just that feeling was really important. But the main takeaway is Even if you don't see a lot of girls doing what you want to do, let's say you want to be an astronaut, for example. There aren't as many female astronauts right now, right? But that doesn't mean you can't be one just because you don't see images of a girl who's an astronaut. You can be whatever it is you want to be if you put your mind to it. And hopefully, your parents also encourage you to do whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, I think all of the parents on here are, I mean, they're here because they want to encourage their kids to do whatever. And I think that's a really great point is that like I mean, I feel like all of this is just constantly tying back to just our confidence and facilitating and having that space to create that confidence at home, which is so extremely important because while like kids might go to school or they might come to Wholesome or they go to other activities and they're doing all of these things in all different types of places, it's really important to remember that like confidence begins at home and that's where kids feel safe the most. Like, a big thing is like, in the classroom is that kids come in and they're one way, but then when they go home, they're a completely other way. And I know you parents definitely understand and know all about that. And it's because your kids feel safe to be their true selves. So cultivating that level of confidence at home is really important with your kids and kids, it's really important to feel that way too. So thank you for sharing that, Avanti. And I think like a really great question that has always been on my mind, and something that I really, really admire about you is that you do a lot. Just like Reyna, like you do a lot. And how are you managing like working between both the US and India? You've graduated Harvard already, but at that time you were at Harvard and also the Berklee College of Music and going flying. You were like 6 months in Boston, 6 months in Bombay. Like, how are you? Like, that's a yeah. How are you able to manage all of those things and then be successful in everything that you do?
Firstly, thank you so much, Mr. Sunny. That's very kind of you. I I think that, you know, I don't know if all of you have heard a lot about time management, but it's really important to manage your time. And I think the first step to that is knowing that if you love something, you'll make time for it. I'm sure if you have a favorite TV show, you're probably making time to watch it every single day, right? And so if you do what you love, you'll make time for it every single day, and it won't feel like work. Now, that being said, of course, if you're doing a lot of things, sometimes it's hard to manage everything, right? Whether that's schoolwork and chores and homework and everything else going on, or whatever you have going on in your life. And so I think finding a routine and finding a rhythm is really important, especially at a time like right now where everything probably feels the same. Your day probably feels the same because you're at home the whole day and just hanging out with the same people all day. So I think it's important to try to figure out times and things for yourself that allow you to do that. For me, I think the other key to time management or, you know, figuring out how to handle a lot of things is figuring out how to prioritize things in my day. What I mean by that is there's going to be things that are more important than others for me to do today. You know, for example, it was important to me to show up here. But, you know, in the middle, I really needed to go to the bathroom. So I was really happy that Mr. Sunny gave us a break because I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom and then come back here. And so trying to figure out what is most important and what's not and how to make time for things accordingly. I think the way that I like to think about it is if Beyonce or Ariana Grande or any person that you look up to, a singer, person, actress, anybody, and the best business person you know, and your parents all have the same 24 hours in a day, and they're all able to do it all. You know, it's really crazy. And I salute all of you parents right now who are at home with children during COVID. I can't imagine it's easy. You know, what can we all do with that same 24 hours in a day, and how can we use that? So to me, it's always been about that, and it's always been about building a support system. So, you know, I was very grateful to have my family support me in what I did because then it made me feel like I could accomplish whatever I wanted.
Yeah, awesome. Um, yeah, time management is something that we all work towards. It's something that we're constant. I feel like I'm constantly working in that direction of always managing my time to make sure that I'm getting the things that I need done. And I'm really happy that you mentioned this one thing about when you do something that you love, it doesn't feel like work. And I know it's something that Reina can definitely agree and attest to as well, is that I love what I do. I love being here with the kids. I love seeing all of my students every single day and working with them. And yes, sometimes it can get frustrating. Like sometimes I can get really down on myself. Sometimes I can get like really upset. But at the end of the day, like I still love what I do, and I'm going to make time for it. And I'm really happy that you also tied it back to TV shows because, as Miss Raina knows, I have like my favorite TV shows, and I make time for them. And I know you kids also make time for your YouTube channels and like all the different things that you do that you love doing. But if we can take an interest into the things that like we might not necessarily enjoy, like if it's like writing or English or reading or math or those areas, and we might not like it, but if we could take a small amount of interest in that, it'll become so much easier. And I think that's one of the tricks to really getting yourself to manage your time better is by making the time for the things that matter. So Avanti, thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate it. And I think that was a great question that a lot of the kids and families can definitely benefit from. So um, that I'm so happy for Avanti and Reina for being able to come on to this really, really special event. It was so great seeing all of you kids on here. Now, I know that we ran a little bit over and we really went over a lot of different topics and talked about a lot of different things, but I'm so proud of all of you for being able to focus. We talked about being able to focus today, and it's a really important skill, and I'm happy that you were able to join in on these moments. Now, parents and students, listen in on this next bit. We're almost done, but it's these small moments that matter. It's these moments like this when your daughters have active role models to look up to, like Avanti and like Reina, to really create those moments of inspiration and motivation to grow. We're in a time right now with COVID. We don't know what the future looks like. We're all at home. It's tough. We don't get to see our friends every day. We don't get to see family members, and we have to interact in this way. So this is the moment that we all need to really think about, how do we want to change the world? How do we really want to grow our communities? What gifts do we have? All of us have our own individual gifts. We might not realize it yet, but we all have something in us right now that can one day go on to change and grow the communities around us. And you might look back 10, 12, 15 years from now and be like, oh, I remember Avanti had said this, or I remember Miss Reina had said this, or I remember Mr. Sunny had said this. And that will spark that interest. So everybody, thank you so much for being on this call on a Saturday morning. I know that it wasn't easy getting up, but you guys are all here because you're all winners and you're all going to be future leaders. I am extremely proud of all of you girls for being here today. And I'm really excited to see you guys in this next week of classes and also seeing you guys grow. And that's the most important part. So at this point, we're going to take just a couple of questions. So if you guys have questions, type them in the chat real quick and just let me know if they're for Avanti or Reina. And we can go from there.
Mr. Sunny, can I just say one thing?
Or
Hi all. Okay, so if I could ask you all, as soon as you get off this meeting, within the 5 minutes of this meeting ending, can you all email Mr. Sunny one thing you learned? One thing that you learned from the three of us talking. It was one thing you took away from this entire hour plus long conversation we had, okay? That's all I want from you guys, to email us one thing, all right? And Mr. Sunny's going to share it with all of us after.
Thumbs up if you can do that.
Thumbs up if you guys are good with that. You understand? All right, you guys can ask your questions, but after we hang up and we end this call, you have 5 minutes to email Mr. Sunny one thing you learned, okay?
Ooh, putting you on the spot.
Yeah, putting everyone on the spot.
Nice. Okay. All right. So at this time, we'll take questions. If anybody has questions, you guys can type them in the chat. We want to roll on. Zombie and Koshi type thing. Suchi, it was nice seeing you. All right. Okay. So if nobody has any questions, am I seeing questions come through? No?
I agree with you, Garnica. We'll have Mr. Sunny share all the learnings.
Yeah, I'll share all that stuff. Definitely. Miss Reyna, what role does your social impact company play?
Yes, so that's a good question. Is it Vedi and Aditi? How do you say your name? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Vaidehi and Aditi.
Hi. Okay. Hi, guys. So, how my social impact company plays a role. It's a very, very good question. So what we do is that we are connecting everyone. So right now, Miss Reyna, myself, I am reaching out to everyone individually who works in different parts of India, different parts of Bangladesh, Pakistan, all of these different countries, Nepal, in South Asia. I'm reaching out to their founders of the companies and the leaders or anyone who's on this mission, right? And I'm reaching out to them to join our community so that we can all work together and better address all these issues that the families, the young girls, and the communities in poverty are experiencing. So once we come together in this community, what we're doing is using that shared knowledge and space to help each other grow so that we can make a better impact in these communities together. And then also what we're doing is we're creating a specific platform and for all these companies that are selling products, that are selling different products from working with underserved communities. So a lot of times in poor communities, what you'll see is that they do a lot of handwork and they do a lot of work where they're building different crafts. And what we're doing is we're creating a place for them so that they can sell their products, and then all the funds that the funds would go back to them so that they can, increase and uplift out of poverty because they're getting money for the work they're doing. So there's a lot of different stuff that we're working on, but those are the two big things. It's building a community and then building a place so that they have a platform to sell their products and make money.
That's great work you do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your question.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for Avanti? Since you moved between countries, did you experience cultural differences?
Yes, thank you for asking, Mehak and Jeremy. I definitely did. I moved to India when I was very little. I was about 9 years old. And so I remember it was very, very different than me growing up. I lived in Massachusetts, so it's very different than when I lived in the US. But I really enjoyed it because I think, given especially that India is, part of my heritage and where, my cultural family background, it was really cool for me to be able to experience what it was like living here as opposed to just what I would hear from family. I think it's hard whenever you move schools or whenever you move different places. I've moved a lot of schools to fit in or to understand, but I think that the cool thing about that is always being curious and always being ready to learn. And I think that was really, really important to me. And similar to Miss Reyna, I think a lot of the things that I learned, especially when moving, was just how fortunate we are with a lot of the things we have, you know, the access to health we have, the access to education. So for me, that's why that was really important for me to study that at college. And I think that really shaped the way that I think about things, the way I even think about my music and what we talk about, what we, you know, everything that we share. So I think it's not always easy. And for those of you who have different cultural backgrounds, which I can see a lot of you do, and you live in the US, sometimes it's probably hard to explain to your friends from other cultures why you do a certain thing a certain way at home. But just recognizing that there is beauty in that and that, you know, celebrating that everybody's different together is really cool.
For sharing that, Avanti. And that's a great question, Charmaine Mahek. So what we're going to do at this point is that if you guys have any additional questions, you guys can both reach out to both Avanti and Reina. So at the end of the packets that I've given all of you, there is this page here. You can find Avanti on Instagram at Avanti Negral, or this is her website, and you can check out her website over here. She got a fantastic website with also all of her music, and everything here that you can listen to, any of her newly released songs. That's all here. I definitely suggest checking that out. And then if you also want to get in touch with Miss Reina, you can go to her Instagram, which is Raised Together, or you can also check out her website and see and learn more about what Raised Together is all about and learn more about Reina. So at this time, we are going to close out our event. So thank you so much for everybody that was a part of this. It was a